Hi, I'm Tim Carter. This is Ask the Builder, and thanks for being here. It's Monday, February 7th. Holy moly, a week of February has already gone by. Hard to believe. Today, in just a few minutes, we're going to talk about drain clog prevention. If we have time today, I know this sounds crazy. I want to share a little bit about fountain pens. I also want to talk a little bit about water heater anode rods. And of all things, collar ties. Yes, collar. Not. I know what you're thinking. Not straight ties or bow ties, but there's different types of collar ties, and we might talk about those. It all depends on how much time we have. And I think it's really important for you to realize, what the live stream might cover, because then you may want to continue to watch it if you're watching it after the fact or even right now live. I don't have any sponsor today other than myself. Um, I know you can't really see them. I'm wearing my Dickies coveralls. I was outside earlier today, a little cold, and I don't know. I just didn't take them off, so my my legs are starting to get a little warm. I think I'll unzip them. Actually, that may help. But I just thought about that. Why not unzip these things? Um, anyway, if you've ever, I know it's a little awkward here. Um, if you've not ever worn coveralls, and these are insulated, by the way, and I've got a column on my. Actually, let's go find that because it's really pretty important. Um, this is um, this is something you need to know. You might not need to know this if you live in Florida, but if you live up cold and you've never worn these, um, uh, it could change your life. And what's interesting is they're really affordable. And it's all about staying warm, when you're outside, because if you start to get cold, um, then everything goes downhill. I mean, you just get miserable, and it's just horrible. First, I'm going to share with you this what we're going to be talking about in just a minute: the drain clogs. So you're going to want to go look at that link right there. But if you're interested in what I'm wearing right now, of course, I am wearing the sleeveless ones. In other words, if I stand up, you can see, you know, they don't have sleeves. All right, so these make it easier if you're wearing a different type of jacket. And anyway, crutch word. If you want to know about coveralls, go click that second link. Hi, Lee. How you doing? Okay. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. That's a great. Yes, I have. I absolutely can tell you that. You say any suggestion for unclogging the grease in the drain pipe from body lotions. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Let's get started. Actually, let's get started right now. And because I think it's really, I think it helps people who tune into the live stream afterwards because they see the title and it shows up in the Google search and as far as YouTube search too. But so drain clog prevention. Here's what you need to know to start things out. First and foremost, I have been a licensed plumber since 1981. I know all about drain clogs, and what's really interesting is that when you install piping as a plumber, you have, and a lot of people, if you've not done this, meaning if you've never installed piping before, and most people haven't, okay, I get it. In other words, I'm not a computer programmer, so I don't necessarily know how to write code. But when you start to install pipes, you start to really understand how easy it is for them to get clogged. And a really good plumber pays a lot of attention to the size of the pipes. And while you don't want to oversize them too much, that's a bad thing. Um, you most certainly don't want to undersize them. And we have standards here in the United States, and most of the developed world has really good standards as to what size pipes need to be in certain situations. And I happen to draw those drawings all the time. I just did one this morning for a person who's putting a single bathroom in a room addition. He's in New York, Kevin, and I sent him his plan this morning. Here's what you need to know. The number one problem and Lee kind of touched on this, the number one problem that causes clogs is grease. And many people, I think there's this, I don't want to say that it's unethical. I really don't, because I don't think it is. But when I see television commercials put out by Procter and Gamble about their Dawn liquid dish soap, and how that's a grease fighter and how it's the best. And I have to tell you, it's a really good product. I use it here in my own home. It suds a lot. Um, that people think, okay, if I'm using Dawn dish soap and I use it to wash my dishes, and that stuff goes down the drain, it's no big deal because I use Dawn dish soap. No, 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 no. It is a big deal because all that can happen is the Dawn may emulsify, and what emulsify means, if you remember, did you attend that day of high school chemistry class, or were you scribbling or writing love notes to your sweetheart and not paying attention? I keep telling you this, that you should have paid attention in physics and chemistry class. Emulsify basically means to surround. So what can happen is the soap is designed to kind of, basically surround a grease globule, and then because the soap is slippery, it tries to transport it to a location. Well, at some point along the journey, it could be 10 feet, 50 feet, 100 feet, 1,000 feet. The grease becomes unmulsified. It doesn't stay emulsified forever. That's when the problems happen, because then the grease starts to accumulate, and the grease then starts to choke off the pipe. And then the grease has the ability to grab onto, because it's not, don't think of the grease deposit in the pipe as this perfectly smooth thing. It can be very grotesque. I'm trying to think of something what it might look like, but maybe like a head of cauliflower in a way. It's really hard to describe. The point is, the grease can grab onto and capture other bigger particles of things, and then that makes the pipe even smaller in diameter. Basically, grease is bad. All right, how do you deal with that? Here at the Carter house, here's what I do. My family, although I don't use them for this purpose, I'm not going to name any names. But people here, they think they like to use paper towels to dry their hands with, and then they just use it and throw it in the garbage can. I don't say anything to them. I wait till they walk out of the kitchen. I go to the garbage can, I grab it, I take it out. And then I take it and put it in a box where it can dry out. So I have a collection of basically perfectly clean paper towels, but they've been used. And after we cook, I let the grease in the pans cool down so it's warm but still liquefied. I use the paper towels to wipe the inside of the pot of the pan. I mean, literally getting it as almost clean enough that you could put it back in the cabinet, but I don't. That's a funny story, by the way, a Dear Abby story. Hopefully we'll do that one. We'll talk about that. You can remind me in the chat. And then I take that paper towel that's saturated with grease and throw it in the garbage can. And then I'll do the same for plates and bowls that we've used to eat with. In other words, if we've, if I have chicken wings sometimes for lunch, chicken wings can be pretty greasy, and I'll wipe that plate with a paper towel before I put the plate in the dishwasher. In other words, I'm trying to stop 98% of the grease from getting into my pipes. It's still going to get in there. There's still going to be some grease. Now, to Lee's question, how do we deal with it? Thanks, Lee. Yeah, it's a Bean shirt, by the way. It's one of my favorite. I just got this shirt about 3-4 months ago. I love LL Bean. In fact, I just ordered another one. I ordered a blue Buchanan flannel shirt. They're on sale right now. Go look at the blue Buchanan. Blue's my favorite color, but this one has all three of my favorite colors. The blue that you see here, it's really hard to do in reverse. The red, and then the green. Hey, Will. Yeah, I was that's you missed it. See, you got in here late. I was outside working. All right, so to Lee's question, how do you get rid of it? If the grease accumulation gets really bad, you can try to use a snake, but those are not always effective. They just kind of get gummed up. The best way is preventative. Well, you say any suggestion for unclogging the grease? Well, if it's already clogged up, you're going to have to try to snake through it to get at least a small passageway. Then what you have to do, you have to start putting uh, hot water. I mean, water that's probably 170, 180, 190 degrees, just below boiling. You need to put it in the drain, and you need to put a lot of it. You don't need to pour it slowly like out of a glass. The whole point is if you want to dissolve, because if you've ever done hot water before on solidified grease, for example, like bacon grease or really any cooking grease that's solidified, you'll notice that really hot water dissolves the grease very rapidly, very rapidly. So imagine if you had an opening, this small. I mean, just, actually as small as like a pencil. I'll put this up in front of my head. A very small little opening. And if you took boiling hot water or water that was just below boiling and you put it in the drain and that water started to flow through this little tube, pretty soon, the little opening, it's gonna have a hard time. It'll start to get wider and wider and wider until eventually you open up the whole pipe. But as it's getting wider and wider, you have to put more water in the drain faster so that water has filled the entire opening, because you need to be dissolving the grease from not the bottom of the pipe, but the sidewalls and the top. That's how you unclog it. So it may take you, and depending on how far, how how much of the pipe is clogged with the grease. I mean, it could take you 10 gallons, 20 gallons, 50 gallons. It could take a lot of hot water. Plumbers, some plumbers, not all, drain cleaning plumbers actually have equipment in some trucks. They basically can bring with them to the job site like a miniature boiler and maybe 50 or 100 feet of insulated tubing. They can connect it. They have all the fittings to connect it to the branch arm that's sticking out of your wall, and they can turn it on and they can heat up this water and they can inject into your drain line hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of gallons of hot water to dissolve the grease. That's how the pros do it. But it's going to cost you, I don't know, that probably would cost you, it's now 2022. I'm going to guesstimate, I haven't bid it out here locally, but I would say a plumber's going to charge you $400 to $500 to do that minimum. I mean, they're going to be there at least 2 hours, and it's $100 an hour plus the fee for the machine plus the fuel, blah 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 blah. It's going to cost you a lot of money. So it's so much easier just to sop it up with the flipping paper towels. Hello, Steve. No. So Lee says, then will hot vinegar? No, it will not do a better job. There's no chemical reaction that I'm aware of between acetic acid and grease. Hot water will liquefy the grease. Because remember, as much as I hate to say this, if you're on a city sewer system, you're just trying to get the grease out of your drain line and out of your building and sewer. And once it hits the city sewer, you really don't care. I mean, I know you don't care. The city cares, and the person who manages the sewage treatment facility, he cares. But and what they should do, they should actually, I don't know, it's been 13, 14 years since I've gotten a bill for sewage because I've got my own septic tank. But if you live in a city, they should be doing an education program. They should be educating all the citizens. Do not put grease in the sewer for all kinds of reasons, for the reasons we're talking about. Basically, vinegar is not going to do anything. You're just going to spend even more money. You're just going to waste the money on the vinegar. You just want to use hot water. Let's talk about the next thing. I've got it right here in the number 2. So number 1 is grease. All right. Number 2 is all of the, okay, ladies, all of you ladies watching, all of the feminine hygiene products, bad. Never, 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 never put any tampons, napkins, none of that ever. I don't care what they say on the labeling. Do not flush those things down a toilet. Don't. Here's what I said in the column. I just wrote a column about this, so you know today. Here's what I said at the opening of the column. I said this. I said, first, here's the question. What should be put down plumbing drains? Now, you may find this shocking, my answer. First and foremost, the only thing that should flow through the plumbing drains in your home is water, human waste, both solid and liquid, and very tiny particles of solid food. And when I say tiny, I mean something no bigger than a 16th of an inch by a 16th of an inch. Notice I did not say anything about toilet paper. I say here in the column, I say, note that I didn't say toilet paper is okay. Realize that people who live in other parts of the world think the use of toilet paper is actually somewhat unsanitary and unacceptable. They use water to cleanse their body parts. And then I further wanted to say, I find it shocking that major US plumbing fixture manufacturers don't heavily promote bidets. You should watch my flushable wipes video to see how high quality toilet paper doesn't break down much at all as it travels through your drain pipes. Seriously, go watch my flushable wipes video. Because in that video, I tested cheap single-ply toilet paper, and then I tested the more expensive double-ply, like the best grade toilet paper you can get here in the United States. And I folded it exactly the way you're supposed to. I did everything right. I used just the right amount of sheets, and you would be stunned. Once I flushed it, it went down the pipe, went 70 feet through the pipe, which is the average distance your sewer pipe is out to the street. You'd be stunned what condition it was in. And when you see it in that flushable wipes video, you're not going to believe it. Also, remember, if you watch the flushable wipes video, I saluted the Army men. It was off camera. I saluted them and gave them a pep talk before I sent them on their mission. And they survived. They're really unbelievable, really strong lungs. All right. If you have any questions about anything about your home, it does not have to be about plumbing drains. Put it in the chat. If you have a YouTube account, you're able to chat. If you don't have a YouTube account and you just happen to tune in, you can get a YouTube account. It's free. You don't have to upload a video. You never have to upload a video. There are millions of people on YouTube who have accounts who have never uploaded a video. And then by having an account, you're able to chat. And believe me, it's helpful because your comments and your questions are what drive the live stream here. All right, Steve, you should try a 4-inch soil pipe instead of 3. Well, you know what? That's a great point. So we're going to talk about that right now. So, Steve, here in the United States, I'm a licensed master plumber. I've been one for, over 40 years. Here in the United States, if you're going to install a toilet in any commercial application, hotel, restaurant, it doesn't matter, office building, whatever, 4-inch pipe, 4-inch pipe, yeah. But in residential, it's only 3-inch, even though it's the same toilet. Now, why is that? So the toilet, the colon in our toilets here, and see, I think that's where your toilets are different. That's why I think I'm agreeing. Just so you know, I think that what you do in the UK is actually better because I would love to see the actual toilet because I think the P-trap in your toilet is probably a 3-inch P-trap. I could be wrong, but here in America, the colon, which is the part of the trap, the passageway, we call it a colon in our toilets, it's just a little bit over 2 inches. It might be 2.25 inches, 2.5. And that's by design because the manufacturers don't want the toilet to pass anything that's 3 inches in diameter because it would get clogged in our pipes. And most human waste, I mean, I don't mean to be too graphic here, But when you look at a bowel movement for most humans, it's not, I don't know, maybe it's 1.5 inches in diameter. All right. It's not going to be a whole lot bigger than that. And so the bottom line is a 3-inch pipe works. And here's all you need to know, Steve. In all my years of all the jobs I've installed in all my houses, my own personal homes, I've never, ever had a toilet clog. Ever. Never. Never. And there are literally millions of houses, they don't clog. So a 3-inch pipe works fine. They do work fine. And from a plumber standpoint, they're 3 inches so much easier to work with than 4-inch. But I'm telling you, the 4-inch, great pipe, great stuff. Okay, so here, let me get caught up. Lee's got another question. What about lint from a washing machine? Will they clog the drain after a year or two's accumulation? That's a great question. Generally speaking, so here's what my mother used to do. Back when I was a kid, we did not have the fancy, almost all laundry rooms were in the basement. And the washing machines had a hard rubber hose that drained to a old-fashioned utility sink. And as we got into the 60s and 70s, people wanted to be out of the basement. So they brought the washing machines up into a living space. And so they wanted to hide where where that pipe went, where that hard rubber pipe went. And they had these little boxes in the wall. And I've got photos of that on my website. My mom used to take some of her stockings, that she had to wear stockings to work. She was a registered pharmacist, and she wore the old type of stockings, not pantyhose, but each individual leg. I used to have to walk by them in the basement, so I know all about it when she hung them up to dry. And anyway, ones that had runners in them, she would save those, and she would tie that around this black hose. My mom was really smart. And so when the washing machine discharged, it would it would capture the lint. And it was kind of surprising. The lint would accumulate over time in those stockings, and she would change it out. But there wasn't necessarily a lot of lint that was coming out. And I wonder now, with so much polyester clothing, this is a rhetorical question. Is lint as big a problem as it used to be, before the 1960s? Because before the 1960s, we really didn't have polyester clothing. It was cotton and it was wool. But when I dry clothes, and I'm kind of surprised how much lint there is sometimes. But to your question, will it clog? Well, let me tell you something. If you have a grease buildup in your drain pipes, lint is going to accelerate clogging. So how do we deal with that? I'm about ready to cover that. I'm about ready to jump into that. Steve, I'm going to look at Dennis Nielsen. I'm going to write that down because sometimes that disappears in the chat. Drain. Now, I already talked about putting hot water down the drains. We talked about feminine hygiene products. Okay. We talked about grease. Here's what I do at my home. Well, let's talk about nature. I always think, remember, try to always look at how Mother Nature deals with things and then relate it back to your own self and how things happen in your world. And there's a great example of it. You probably see it in the news. I know it happened a year or so ago in the northern UK, up in Scotland. They had probably 1,000-year rain. I think it was, Steve. I think it was not this past. Maybe it was last winter, but they had these horrible, horrible flash floods, and it was heartbreaking to see the damage caused and how it ruined all these beautiful historic stone bridges, just wiped them out. When you have a flash flood, it's one of the, I guess you could say, benefits of it from the way Mother Nature looks at it. A flash flood, it completely cleans out the stream bed, the brook, the river, whatever it is. I mean, it just takes all of the debris, and then eventually it gets down to the ocean. So it's basically like a spring house cleaning. Well, guess what? You can do the same thing in your drains. Why don't you create a flash flood in your drain? Never thought about that, have you? It's easy to do. All you need to do is, and it really is good if you have a helper. So in Steve's case, because he's got a 4-inch pipe in their toilets, he needs to bring into the bathroom 4 5-gallon buckets filled with about 4 gallons each. You don't want to fill them up to the brim because you're going to spill it. And what happens is you and another person, so you've each got this 4-gallon bucket of water. Somebody flushes the toilet, one person does, and then both of you start to pour your buckets of water into the toilet bowl as fast as possible, getting the water to rise up to just about an inch below the rim of the bowl, and keep pouring it in. Keep pouring as much water in the toilet as fast as you can to keep that water level up as high as possible without overflowing. What happens is in the pipe, so think about this. As soon as you start doing that, the pipe, what used to be in the pipe was air before you flushed. Now you've completely filled the entire pipe with water. And you have this massive amount of water. Think about this. You've got 16 gallons of water flowing into the pipe within, I've done it before. I can pour it, I'd say within 10 seconds, you could have all 16 gallons flowing down the pipe. So what does water weigh? So a cubic foot of water weighs 62.4 pounds, and a cubic foot of water, 7.5 gallons. So you're putting into the pipe about 125 pounds of water. Think about that. You've got 125 pounds, which is, that's a lot of weight. And that is roaring down this pipe. So anything that's in the pipe that might be loose, like maybe a wad of toilet paper that never made it or some other solid material, that slug of water hits it and there it goes, man. It's being pushed all the way down the drain line, all the way through the building drain and out to the sewer or into your septic tank. That's how you prevent drain clogs. You create a flash flood inside your drain pipe. All right, let me get caught up on the comments. I don't know who Nicola Sturgeon is, so I have to look that up. I don't know who that is, but those were some really bad storms. So anyway, Lee, the lint can be a problem. Yes, lint can be a problem. And if you just, and I'm going to put it in, I've got the, okay, I'll answer that in a minute, Steve. Let me go back to this. I want to paste in this drain clog prevention URL once more time. So someone who is just kind of tuned in, you really should go read that column. Everything I talked about is in there, and there's actually a lot more. But it's a preventative thing, and most people are too lazy. They don't want to do it. But here, once again, the magic of these bad boys, all right? How cool these things are bad, these smartphones, but they're also good because, for example, I use them all the time. I set up reminders that repeat. I have all kinds of reminders set up. Actually, I should probably write a column about that. Let me write that down. That's a good idea. List of reminders. Anyway, you just need to set a simple reminder and then do it. Then be religious about it. And what you need to do is, this is hard for somebody maybe like Steve who's got a floating schedule. But if you have somewhat of a routine, or if you're retired, then you already know what time of day or what day of the week, you might be up to doing little chores like this. And these aren't hard. None of this is hard. The hardest one to do is the hot water, because we have a couple of really big pots. Kathy's got like a 3-gallon. So I have all these pots on the stove of water heating up and boiling and whatever. I got all this stuff going on, and it takes a while, so I try to do something else while the water's heating up. But once you start to pour the water, you're done. It's over with. And I haven't had it in the 13 years I've lived in this house. I've never had a clog in my kitchen sink. I must be doing something right. All right, I'm going to answer Steve's question here. Your river systems must be less polluted than ours due to septic tanks. Well, I would say that's true in any rural area. But I'll give you an example, Steve. Right here where I live in central New Hampshire, it's a very non-polluted place, and I can tell you a story how I know why. I mean, our lakes, like the lake I live on, I think I shared that video a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, when the lake froze over. You saw how clear that water is. It's crystal clear. I can see through to the bottom. I can see the rocks. It's amazing. It's how clear the water is. We have a river. The main river that flows by my house is the Pemigewasset River, and it starts up north near Franconia Notch, which is I don't want to bother the details, but right there by Mount Lafayette, Cannon Mountain. And it gets bigger and bigger as it comes all the way down, 30, 40 miles. Eventually, the Pemigewasset runs into Franklin, New Hampshire, and it meets the Winnipesaukee River. And those two rivers combined, and they create the Merrimack River, which then runs out to the Atlantic Ocean. So, Crutchward, about 10 miles north of where I live, is a small town called Plymouth, New Hampshire, and it's also just to the west of it would be Ashland, New Hampshire. But those two towns actually have a sewage system, because what happens, Steve, is when you start to get too many people living too close to one another, you can't have septic systems because the septic system requires a leach field, and the leach field, like I'm looking at my leach field. You'll really appreciate this because of the size. When I see sometimes shows about how big a city is or a backyard is in England, and people think that's huge, I just laugh. I go, "Are you kidding me? That's the size of my flipping garage where I park my car." Anyway, my leach field is probably 25, 30 feet wide by 60 feet long. All right, so think about that. That's at least 1,200 square feet. That's a minimum. So you need a little bit of area to be able to have and that's not counting the septic tank. You can't pull that off in an urban environment. You have to have sewers. The point is, here's all I'm driving towards, is that there's a sewage treatment plant right next to the Pemigewasset River, just south of Plymouth and just west of Ashland. And that, I think I mentioned this once before. A lot of people don't understand this is happening in London. It's happening everywhere. Every place where there's a sewage treatment plant. You have to understand this is so fascinating when you think about it. Imagine how many people in London right now, and I know in London you have several sewage treatment plants. You don't have one. You have more than one. Let's just pick out one. So imagine all of the pipes that are connected to that one sewage treatment facility. How many gallons of water a minute do you think are flowing into that sewage treatment plant? And of course, in the daytime, it's more than it is in the middle of the night. All right. Now, I say that. I mean, I don't know if London is like New York, the city that never sleeps. But, most of the people are sleeping, I think, at night in London. But there's a lot of water. Okay. You need to understand that the sewage treatment plants, they don't have huge storage tanks. It's not like they store the water. The water, for every gallon or two of water that comes into the sewage treatment plant, a gallon or two of water flows out of it that's been treated. So that means if there's 1 million gallons a day of water coming into the sewage treatment plant, 1 million gallons of water are going out of the sewage treatment plant. All right. That means this beautiful, clean Pemigewasset River is accepting treated sewage. All right. Now, is the water perfectly clean? I can tell you I would never drink a glass of water that comes out of that sewage treatment facility. Never. I mean, even though it's been treated. No, I'm not drinking it. So that's a very long answer to your question. So our beautiful, clean, pristine rivers for a short distance below the sewage treatment outlet plant of the outlet, the outlet of the sewage treatment plant, they are polluted. All right, they're polluted, and I don't think that the towns do necessarily a really good job of putting signage up to all these young kids who take kayak trips and canoe trips and canoe through that water. I think they, personally, I think that should be signed. You know, that right before that, there should be signs all along the river like, do not drink this water, do not get out of your boat, don't splash this water on your face. You know, and maybe those signs stop a mile downriver. You know, whatever the safe distance is. Long answer. All right, here, let me get caught up on this comments. Scottish National Party, also the First Minister of Scotland, she wants to break up the Union. Thank you. All right, thank you for that. Is there gold in the rivers here in Hampshire? Well, the answer is yes. Yes, there is gold just about in every river. But is there enough gold to make it worth your time to pan for it? No, there's not. We have, it's really kind of interesting. I should take a photo of it. When I go out for my walk, I haven't walked in a while. It's been so daggone cold. You have to understand the bedrock of where I live is all granite, and the granite's got quite a bit of quartz in it, but every now and then there's a massive vein of quartz. And generally, when you find gold or when you find quartz, you're going to find gold. So there's a possibility. There's this one giant boulder that I walk by. It's only maybe 600 feet north of my home. It's got a vein of quartz in it that wide. I've never gone up to it actually and closely looked at it. I'll take my Hastings triplet. Do you have one of these? If you don't have one of these, you need to get one. All right, so this is my Hastings triplet from geology from college. I saved it all these years. A lot of sentimental value, but it's a 10x multiplier or magnifier, and they're really amazing. For all I know, they're made in the UK. So I'm going to take this with me, and I'll look to see if I use this, by the way, to get splinters out. And anyway, there may be some gold in that quartz, but not enough to make you a rich man. I can tell you that. We think a goldfish bowl is an Olympic size swimming pool. I know. I just the whole urban living thing. I just can't do it anymore. Can't do it. I was born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio. Cincinnati's, I think at the time I was there, the actual city limits had 300,000 people. I know that's laughable. I know you've got, what's London, 8 million? The greater Cincinnati area had, I think, 1.2 million. So it's still, it's still small. And when I go back there, I was just back there this past October. I've become increasingly intolerant of the congestion, and I noticed that the drivers there, and I don't have any hard data. It's just a feeling that they're much more aggressive and much less polite than they used to be. That doesn't surprise me. So I get really, I don't have any trouble. I'm not afraid of driving in traffic. But here in New Hampshire, to put it in perspective, if there's more than 8 cars in a line here, where I live, I call that a traffic jam. I mean, if I'm leaving the grocery store and there's 8 cars between me and the traffic light, I go, what the hell's going on? I know you may think that's hilarious. Yeah, I think you're right, Steve. The older I'm trying to see, that's just a button. Yeah, I agree. Though and I'm no spring chicken, man. I'm going to be 70 years old in just 6 months. Hard to believe. Wow, hard to believe. We may have to have a birthday party that day of the live stream if I do one. I don't know. I might be out and about. I might go to the Fox and golf that day. Who knows? Um, who knows? Okay. So we talked about the drain clog prevention. It's really simple to do. Just watch what you put in the drains, and then grease. Oh, you got to have the grease under control. Got to have it. All right. Now, here's something I want to talk about. Really, it's kind of a fun thing. I want to talk about really quickly here. I got into this about a year ago. I can't remember how I got into it. It might have been this ham radio student. I have a student that I've taught Morse code to, and he's doing really well. But I don't know how we got on the topic. But he's done it for years. But he must have done it. He must have stimulated my re-interest in fountain pens. Right. So I have these fountain pens, and I actually have another one, a really, really fancy one that my daughter gave me. This is a very, that's not it. Yeah, it is it. Yeah, this is a very fancy fountain pen. Even got my name on it. Anyway, it's really a lot of fun. You have to understand, if you're an older person like me, we used to have fountain pens in grade school, and they were horrible. They were notorious for leaking. They were just horrible. But the modern fountain pens, they're pretty amazing. This was the first pen I bought about a year ago. It's a Lamy, Lamy. They're very inexpensive. I think I paid $16 for this online. And you can get the cartridges. They have, I just dropped it. I'll get one here. I'll get a different box. But they have little ink cartridges, that you put in. And this one happens to be green ink. And I just tried this one out the other day. And it's really a beautiful, like a very dark green. But they come, red, blue, different colors of blue, black, orange, green, purple. You can get all different kinds of color ink. And it's really a lot of fun. So I also then got really interested in cursive writing. And I actually think it's a smart thing that if you don't do cursive writing, you should, because you're going to be able to send coded messages soon. I'm serious. I mean, now, of course, I know somebody's going to, it's probably already out there. Somebody already has an app that you can scan something and it translates cursive, because young people are not being taught cursive, or I don't think they're being taught it in public schools here in America. And if you want to write a coded, it's just like cars. Like here in America, it's really hard to find a car with a standard shift transmission, a new one. So if you want to buy a car that young people can't steal, just have a standard shift transmission. They jump in. They don't even know how to make the car go. Same thing with cursive writing. But I like cursive writing. I practice it each day, and maybe I'll put together some and give you some examples. The key to cursive writing with a fountain pen is you need to slow down. You need to really just slow down, take your time to form the letters. Because what happens, you get into a rush, and then everything goes off the rails. But I just think it's kind of a fun thing to do. So I like doing it. I like it a lot. All right, here we go. Let's get caught up. Yeah, I don't want to drive in London, Steve. Will says have to add more hot water due to the cold winter temps. Well, I don't know what that means. I don't know where I'm adding the hot water to. You might be referring to my newsletter to Arlen's wife, who was none too happy because her shower water turned cold. Here we go. Steve says, have you ever changed the shutoff valve when you couldn't shut the water off first? Yeah, I did that. It's a nightmare. But now, so we now have technology that makes that really simple. And I shared that video, I know, back right after Thanksgiving. Remember when I shared the video of the press tool? So let me actually get that video for you right now. Really important. Really important. Because I want to show you how it's done, and I'll explain it, but you need to see this video to be able to understand how you would be able to make a repair with water. I mean, imagine a water line that's shooting water out of it that's like a fire hose. I mean, imagine that. Like, how in the world would you do that? I think this is the video right here. I think this is it. I have 2 columns on the website. I'm trying to pull it up. I'm sorry, it's going slow, blah, blah. Well, this is it. This will be, this shows the tool, at least a photograph of it. I am trying to paste this in for you. I'm trying to click it. But here's how you do it, Steve. So there it is. Okay, good. The link shows up. We have these new fittings in America. I have to believe you've got them in the UK as well. So imagine a copper fitting, but inside the copper fitting, in other words, if normally you would take the copper female and the male into the female and you would solder it, heat it up with a torch, solder it. What if I told you could slide the tubing into the female, and in the female is an O-ring, and you slide it in, you take a tool, and this tool completely covers the female fitting, you press a trigger, and 4 seconds later it's sealed. That's a press fitting. You can get those press ends, those females, on the end of a valve. So imagine if you had a copper water line that was severed and it's spewing water like crazy. And all you have to do is just take a valve that's the same diameter as the pipe, a ball valve. You open the valve up. All right, you want the valve open. Then as you slide it into the stream of water, a little bit of water is going to spray on you. Big deal. You slide it onto the end of the pipe. Now the water shooting through the valve like a fire hose. You can whistle, take the press tool, press it, done. It's done. And then you slowly take the handle of the ball valve, turn it 90 degrees, and the water shuts off. You could never do that with a solder. You cannot solder when there's water in the line. You could do the same thing if you had a flare fitting on but it would be so hard because for you to flare the pipe, you can't, you have to put a tool in that shapes the end of the copper tubing, and water's going to go everywhere. But these press fittings allow you to solve that problem. Pretty amazing. Hello, Lorraine. Yes, it's like shark bite. That's exactly right. That's exactly what it is. Yes. Well, I got it now. I understand. I understand that you have to, it just takes you longer to heat the water. The plumbing pipes inside your house are typically going to be the same temperature all year round, the actual pipe temperature, unless the pipe happens to be on an outside wall. And sometimes kitchen sink branch arms are on an outside wall. So you're right. That grease is going to be colder. So I agree with that. Okay. By Wednesday, you should be back on a regular basis. And you've got shorter hair, right? Because last week you went to the, I think you had a hair appointment. Jimmy wants to know, have you worked with Oop Honor piping? You bet I have. I have Oop Honor in my own home here. And we put in, oh my gosh, this is going to blow you away. I put in over 6,000 feet of Oop Honor, their oxygen-free pipe for my daughter's radiant floor heating. And then I put in probably 2,000 feet of hot and cold water line Oop Honor, at least 2,000 feet in her new home up in Bar Harbor. So thousands and it's a great product. Great. That's the only PEX I would use. And they were the inventors of it. So I love Oop Honor. I can't say enough good things about it. You do have shorter hair. Yep. And it was kind of short on the Zoom call, I thought, personally. But all right. So I have a question for you, Steve. How was your work week last week, or did you have to work this weekend? How's work going? Are you working too hard? I hope not. Let's see. Here we go. Jimmy says, I'm going to be using this on the 3 Barnum minimum. I don't know what that means. I'm going to be doing the plumbing design on. Okay, got it. Yeah, Uponor, good stuff. So you may want me to also draw your waterline drawing. I draw those because you got to get those manifolds right. You have to get the manifold system correct, um, and um, and you have to put those manifolds in right, especially if you might have a what. There's a lot to think about when you design a water distribution system, especially if you don't know in the future if you're going to put in a water conditioner or a water softener, because you have to think it through. For example, like you don't want to be wasting conditioned water like on your outside hose bibs. So you have to branch that off and have a separate manifold for your hose bibs. I had to do a drawing for that for a person about 2 months ago for a pretty big house out in Sedona, Arizona, and I had to Sedona, Arizona. Just so you know, probably the most regulated place to build anything. I'm just stunned at what they require the people out there to provide on their plumbing drawings and stuff. I mean, it's overly restrictive, in my opinion. But I guess they feel they're protecting the citizens. But there's a fine line there, a real fine line. Anyway, all right. So yeah, I got caught up on the comments. Good. I just want to go back real quickly to the fountain pens. I know you think this is nuts. So these very inexpensive Lemais, $15, $16. They write beautifully. When you get a fountain, if you decide to get a fountain pen and just kind of play with it, understand that the nib is the tip of the fountain pen. They come in different widths. And I can tell you, I would always order a fine nib because you know how clothes run different in size? Like one manufacturer's large is the same as somebody else's extra large. Anyway, I don't think there's a really good convention on these nibs. So always order fine and just start out with an inexpensive pen and then see if you like that nib width. But I think the fine is the way to go because like a medium nib, it produces a pretty wide line of ink. And that means that if you like to write smaller, you have a really hard time creating space in your loops. All right. So I don't want to bore you with all this cursive writing, but I think it's a lot of fun. I actually like it. I like cursive writing about as much as I like doing Morse code. Wow. Okay. So here we go. Wow. I'm lucky they can't dismiss because I've been there more than, okay. Good for you. Great for you. All right. So Jimmy, by the way, I'm a HVAC and refrigeration tech for 24 years. Good for you, Jimmy. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know all about, those 4-inch vent pipes, in the UK, I guarantee you they're standard, even though they don't have a worry of frost there. I mean, like Steve tells us, it doesn't get that cold in London. Now, up north, in northern UK, they get freezing weather. I mean, Scotland gets pretty damn cold. But here in the United States, in Minnesota, northern Maine, northern New Hampshire here, northern Vermont, northern Michigan, you better have a 4-inch vent pipe sticking out of your roof, man, or it's going to clog up with ice. It'll get choked with hoarfrost. I've seen it happen in Cincinnati. Anyway, so good. I'm glad that things are working out for you good at work, Steve. And Jimmy, you must be busy as can be, man. HVAC and refrigeration tech. I mean, it's so hard to find people. So good for you. Stuff your pockets with cash while you can. Oh, and by the way, there was some pretty big news here in the United States today. I saw the whole illness thing. That's what I like to call it. The illness. It's starting to break apart. There were 2 states, I think New Jersey and another one that ended the school face diaper mandate. All right, so that's huge, huge. So it's all going to start falling apart here soon. Oh, and I just started to read. My wife had gotten it. I don't know that they settled on Amazon because Amazon, they're haters. But man, if I'm going to try to find it here real fast. Here we go. I already got a tab open. I'm going to try to find this book. I'm here to tell you, um, if you want to see how bad billions of people have been paid, and you might have been one of them, you need to read this very short book. It is going to blow your mind. It is going to blow your mind. I am trying to. My whole browser thing is really slow. So let's see if I can find this book. It's a little hardback book. I'm only about into page 35, 36, 37. And there's something here in America. Yeah, here it is right here. $19. Get this thing for $20. I'm going to have I'm going to have the link for you in just a second. I'm here to tell you if you want to learn what's really going on, and I've known this for 2 years, you need to read this little book. It's going to blow your flipping mind. And if you live here in America, you are going to want. It's going to get you so riled up that you're going to want to go to Congress. You're going to want to go to Washington D.C. with a pitchfork. Is all I can tell you. It's like no wonder Dr. Fauci is worth $10 million. All right. Huh. You're not going to believe what's allowed. But anyway, I'm just telling you, not at all going to get, this is going to bother some people, but I'm telling you, you need to get that book. You could probably read the book in 3 hours. It is so revealing, and it has not been debunked. In other words, everything that's in the book is true. And, but what's happened is people would say, oh, it's untrue. Well, okay. If it is, you need to show me the proof that it's not true. But no proof has been put up. So, in other words, you need to understand that when somebody says something, you cannot take it at face value. Don't do that. All right. Even me. I mean, you can check me out from time to time. In other words, I say that 3-inch vent pipes will clog up with hoarfrost. Well, check it out. Go do some research. See if that's true. Here we go. All right. Let's see. Yeah, Lorena's right. We always need heat and air conditioning. In the 1960s, the River Thames used to freeze. Wow. Yeah, isn't that okay? So to your point, Steve, about that, I have a column on my website on askthebuilder.com about climate change. Just type climate change into my search engine, read that column. So in my geology degree, it gives me a really interesting perspective about climate change. Guess what? The climate is changing all the time. It's always changed. But we as man, we've had very little to do with it. Very, very little. And the proof of that, don't look at all those scientists' findings. Don't go there. Don't look at their papers. Don't go there. Go to the rocks. Go look at the flipping rocks. Because guess what? Rocks don't lie. I mean, the rocks tell you exactly what happened, when it happened, etc. And then you go, okay, well, so how did all this happen? I mean, it really happened, and blah 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 blah. So it's really simple. Read that column. So in other words, back when you were younger, yes, the canals would freeze. It was colder in London, and now it's gotten a little warmer. But it's not because of man. It's just because that's what happens, and Mother Nature's in charge, not us. Oh, okay, sure, Will. The name is Plandemic. Here, I'll just type it. The author is Mickey. Type it right. So there you go. It's going to blow your mind. So anyway, so here, I'll just touch on this. What if I told you that here in America, I got to make sure you're sitting down. And if you're on blood pressure medication, you may want to get up and walk away. I'm serious. It's going to aggravate you. What if I told you here in America that government employed scientists, do you understand what I'm saying? And we have a famous one who's been on television a lot here in the last 2 years. Employees of the federal government and also employees at universities who are doing research, if they get money from the federal government to do research for new drugs or vaccines, understand this, they're getting money from taxpayers. Those doctors and professors can put their name on the patent and they can profit personally. They can get royalties from the patent of that drug or whatever the patent is, even though they didn't invest one penny of their money in it. And all the time they were working on it, they got paid by us. Do you understand that? That's all in that book, and that is all factual. It's a complete fact. I'm not embellishing it. I'm not making it bigger than it is. So if you were that person who was making a lot of money from a patent on a vaccine or on a test kit, imagine if you invented a test kit to test for an illness, and there were hundreds of millions of these being produced. And you got money from each one of those. I mean, doesn't that, I don't know about you, that bothers me a lot. And also it automatically creates a conflict of interest, meaning you can't talk about that. I mean, you can't go on national TV and tell people to do this or that, and then not disclose that if you do this or that, I might make $1 million. I'm telling you, you and billions of others have been played for 2 years. It's horrible. Yeah. He got red pilled. Yeah, exactly. All right. That's exactly right. Yeah. And I cover that in my climate change article on my website. And then we're going to move on to anode rods. In other words, that was the whole trouble with Dr. Mikovits, is that they, took away all grant money to, in other words, when you're in academia and they want to crush you, they just take away your grant money. And remember what I've talked about here on the live stream. I've talked about Dr. Cialdini's book, Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. The most basic psychological trigger in human beings, in you and in me, is reciprocity. If I give you $1 million worth of grant money, if I give you $1 million worth of grant money, I kind of wink, hey, it would really be nice if you gave me something back. Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. Read that book and share it with all your friends. All right, let's get on. Let's move on here a little bit. I want to talk just real briefly about and Jimmy. He knows all about this. He's kind of brushes up against this anode rods. Steve, I don't know. In the UK, I know you have water heaters. Come on, I know that. I have to believe you have storage tank water heaters. It's just a tank. There's a fire underneath it, or it's got electric elements. It heats the water up. Well, inside that tank, you might not know it, but it's got an anode rod. And they're sacrificial. That's what it is. It's a sacrificial because there's a chemical reaction that's going on inside the water. There's some electrolysis that's happening. And that electrolysis likes to happen on the anode rod, and it eats the anode rod. And when the anode rod is gone, it starts hunting around for something else to eat. And it starts to eat the tank. And so it starts to nibble away at it, chip away at it with these tiny, tiny, ultra little tiny sparks or, electrical discharge. And it eventually eats a hole in the tank. and that's why your water heater will start to leak. Understand, if you change your anode rod regularly, and some heaters here in America, you can put in 2 anode rods. You can put an extra one in when you put a brand new water heater in. It's a good idea to do it. Very good idea to have 2 anode rods. You might get a water heater to last 20, 30, 40, 50 years because there's no real moving parts. Think about a water heater. The only moving part is that tiny little part in the gas, like especially a gas water heater, is the little moving part that starts and stops the flow of gas. That's it. That's a really cheap part to replace. And a lot of people just don't know this, that you can extend the life of water heaters almost indefinitely if you just keep up on the anode rods. Yes. And that's so, Lorene, there's a lot of really good information about that at the water heater manufacturers. Depending on the chemical makeup of your water, there are 2 different types of anode rods, aluminum and magnesium. And one will react and cause the sulfur smell, the other one won't. So it just depends on where you're at. So you have to get the right one. So Steve says there's a really big PPE scandal going on here at the moment. Billions of pounds in a waste tunnel into black pockets. Yes, is on the brink. Wow. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing new there. I mean, come on. That happens everywhere and all countries of the world. It's happened for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years. That once you get that power intoxicates you, and then people just want more and more money, and it's just horrible. It's all horrible. All horrible. Yeah, I love I have a combi boiler here at my own home. I had put it in about 3 years ago. It's just wonderful. Oh my gosh. The combi boilers, just so you know, that's all European. Just so you know, Steve, here in the United States, we are like so slow on the uptake. If I was a young man, here, I'll tell you this. If I could go back in time and I was a young man and I had some money behind me, which I didn't have. I never had any money. My mom and dad were as poor as church mice. But if knowing what I know now, like I'm just going to tell you this: if you're here in America, if you're watching this, or even in the UK, Steve, this goes for any young person you know that's got money. Go to the home and garden shows in the UK. I'm serious. Every spring, go to the home and garden show in the UK, or their home builder show. If I got to believe you have a home builder show just like we have in America, and look at all the new and innovative products. All right, then you got to pick the right ones, and then come over here to America and get set up as a distributor, or copy it over here in America, because the combi boilers, these tiny little combi boilers that I have in my house, they've probably been in Europe for 20 years. But here in America, like 7, 8, 9 years ago, oh, new combi boilers, because they know, Steve, most of us proud, or I don't know what the right adjective is, but snobbish. I'm not using the right word, but it's like, I'm not going to spend my time caring about what you guys do over there. I mean, that's how most Americans feel. Like I don't care how you heat your home. I don't care that you're really good at making use of space, and that your cabinet designers are just brilliant in taking small kitchens and making everything work perfectly. You know why? Because here in America, we can have as big as we want. I'm just trying to tell you that we're always like 10 years behind you, man. 10, maybe 15. I just think it's hilarious. Now that I've gotten older, I understand it all. So I would come to the UK and a flipping UK, Germany. You guys in Europe, man, you have figured out how to make the most out of small spaces. It's flipping amazing. All right. Do a great job. All right. So I talked about anode rods. Marcus, I live in Ireland, and when we visit Austria and Germany, it's exactly, there you go. Now you see what I'm talking about, Marcus. Exactly. The Germans, Austrians, great engineers. I mean, I mean, amazing people. And you're exactly right. So that's a very interesting statement that you even feel like you're behind them. Wow. So it seems like I need to go to Germany first. All right. Go to the German home shows and then see what little business I can open up in the UK. Wouldn't it be great to go back in time? Oh, oh my gosh. Here's Lorraine. My friend in the Netherlands gets hot water from the city. Ah, all right. So, they do that in Iceland as well, too. Up in Iceland, I don't think anybody, well, I don't know. They may pay, I'm just making this up. I don't know what it is. Maybe they pay $5 a month for their hot water. All of the hot water up in Reykjavik and other parts of Iceland, it's all done by, the hot volcanic rock deposits in the ground. I mean, they get their hot water heated for free. No fuel. They don't have to burn any fuel to get hot water. It's really amazing. I mean, so they can heat their houses. They have all of this. It's just amazing, amazing what they do up there. Boy, I wish I had that here. I'll probably pay about $4,000 this year, to heat my home here in New Hampshire. Anyway, that's really interesting. All right. Last thing that I promised to talk about, collar ties. All right. So here's a collar, and I know I could put a tie on it. And every Sunday I wear a bow tie, and I tie it myself. I love bow ties. Love everything about them. But in a house, I have to draw a picture for you. I know, Will. I know. Dry erase board. Got it. I'm going to draw this with my fountain pen with a green ink in it. But you're not going to see the green ink. So I'm just going to draw a couple of simple lines. All right. So, so there's a house, with a roof. All right. If you built the roof that way, the roof would collapse. And what would happen is the peak of the roof would want to come down, which would cause the side walls to bow out like that. Each wall here, these two walls would go out like that, and the house would collapse. But if you just add one line like that, it's not going to collapse. That horizontal line is what roof framers, what we call in America, they're called different things in different parts of the world. We call it a collar tie. And I actually have a video. I'm going to show you. I'm going to paste in this video for you from YouTube. Because I kind of explain. I built a shed. You can't see it from the camera here, but just over here, up on the hill, is a shed I built about 9 years ago. And I shot a video when we were framing the roof. I had a really great opportunity to show you collar ties here. Yeah, it's really neat. It's a really flippin' neat video, I think. I have it here for you in just a second. All right, I don't want that to play. Slow down, because I don't want you to bother me. I'm going to tell you something also, if you haven't figured it out today. So here, I want you to watch this video. It explains everything. See, I was supposed to die. I got to kill this video. I told you to be quiet. There we go. All right, I'm back again. Collar ties. Here's what's interesting. They don't have to be at the bottom of the triangle. They can be up a little higher. And then even at the top of the roof, on certain jobs, I've put in what we call a gusset plate, which is a piece of plywood on each side. And you put a lot of nails in it. And it will also prevent that from spreading. But that's got to be designed by an engineer. Don't try to guess yourself as to what's going to work and what's not, because you have to use the right plywood. The gusset plates have to be big enough. It's got to be a certain thickness. Blah 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 blah. It's got to be engineered. But regular collar ties, as long as you put in the long enough nail and you put enough of them in, they're going to work just fine. They work really, really great. And you know this to be the fact, because that whole design of a triangle, it's like the simplest, aside from a circle in nature. a triangle is really, it's so strong. It's so incredibly strong. And engineers all across the world, you see triangles all the time. You probably haven't given it much thought, but in many of the bridges that you cross, you'll see that whole triangle used all the time in the trusses, and even in just regular roof trusses that we build in America. They're triangles, and they got collar ties, and they're a combination of triangles, and the engineers know all about it. So if you're an engineer, you know how good those things are. All right, here we go. Let's see. I'm going to get caught up. There's some comments here. So Dollar General Store, Tim. Yes, Will. Exactly. So Steve said we were supposed to have a deal with Iceland a few years ago to have a pipe. Really? How can that just blows away to think that they could put an insulated pipe in the North Sea all the way to the UK? I guess they couldn't give us an excuse to give us cheap heating if they wanted. Yeah, that's really interesting technology that they could do that. Wow. Here in America, the only place we've got a similar situation would be out in Wyoming at Yellowstone National Park, and there's a couple other places out west where we still have some volcanic rock, some igneous rock that's kind of close to the surface. That it probably would be commercially available. I mean, I know in Colorado, for example, near the town of Ouray, Ouray, they have a hot springs there, a natural hot springs, and we have it in Arkansas. There's places, but we don't have a lot of it. But not like Iceland. Iceland, of course, Iceland, if you don't know it, I mean, here's the geology again. I mean, Iceland is sitting right on the flipping center of the mid-Atlantic ridge. I mean, so Iceland is getting bigger every day. Well, I think it is. I think that Iceland might be growing in size. I don't know that the outer edges of Iceland are being eroded by the ocean as fast as new land is being created in Iceland. I don't know about that. That'd be kind of an interesting. That would be an interesting master's thesis or PhD thesis to do. Yes, Steve. Well, exactly. You're right. I'll answer the question about the drill bits. Yes, you're right. Will, imagine the payback time to break even for a pipe that long. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine insulating it. That's what I can't imagine is how they could maintain the temperature of that water that distance. I mean, that's a great distance. I mean, Iceland from the UK. Trying to think, when they sunk the HMS Hood, it's got to be 300-400 miles. It's a long way. And the sea temperature at that depth, are you kidding me? It's got to be like 33 degrees Fahrenheit. Steve says, any recommendations on the best drill driver bits and hex bit extensions? Can you get, is the DeWalt brand available in the UK? I got to believe Bosch is. I mean, Bosch being a German company. So Bosch, in my opinion, they just make incredible stuff. Bosch, makes really, really good stuff, very high quality. All I use here are Bosch, and then my number two go-to would be DeWalt. Also, Milwaukee here in America makes a really good drill, but I had a falling out with Milwaukee, so I don't like to. I don't like to promote Milwaukee too much because I think they well, here's all that happened is if you go back onto my website and you read my review about the Milwaukee electric nail gun, Finish nail gun, just type Finish nail gun Milwaukee in my search engine, read that review. When Milwaukee saw that was it. They kicked me to the curb, man. I mean, it was over. So that tells you all you need to know. In other words, why would they not want me to tell the truth about their product? So they stopped sending me products, to test. Yes, you're right, Lorene. That's one of my bucket list items, by the way. I like the volcanic eruption that was in Hawaii a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. Oh man, would I love to see that? Would I love to see that lava just moving downhill like a river? Oh my gosh. I don't want to be near the you don't want to be near the volcanoes like Mount St. Helens. Those are bad juju. Those blow up. They're like nuclear bombs. But the ones in Hawaii and the ones in Iceland, those are not usually they're not explosive. There we go. Thank you, Marcus. 850 miles. Wow, that's farther than I thought. DeWalt, Milwaukee, and Bosch, all in the UK. If that's the case, then, so Steve, I would start looking at Bosch stuff first. Here's what you have to be careful of. Be really, really careful of trusting the reviews from both the United States. I don't know anything about tool review guys in the UK or in at all. I don't know anything about them. Don't know who they are. I'm sure there's some guys doing them. But here in America, we have a problem with some of the people that have got these tool review websites, and there's quite a few of them, 20, 30 of them, that they've prostituted themselves. Not all of them. And I'm not going to mention any names, but some of them have prostituted themselves to the tool manufacturers. And I have seen reviews of it. And here's all I need to know. You need to, if you go to a tool review website, this is the acid test. Always the first thing to look at is go up on top or at the bottom and find the about page, like About Us. And if you don't see a picture of the person who's writing the content, that should be the first alarm bell going off. Why is there no photograph of the person who's creating the content? The number two thing you need to see is a quick, brief description of how many decades, I said decades, I didn't say years, how many decades have they been using power tools or hand tools in the field professionally? Do you understand that? In other words, just like, is it Jimmy? Yeah, Jimmy. If Jimmy's still here. So Jimmy is a professional. Jimmy is an HVAC and refrigeration tech. He works 8-10 hours a day using tools. He knows the good ones from the bad ones. You have to understand, here in the United States, there are people who are reviewing tools who have never worked one day in their life professionally in the field using tools. So you need to verify that on their website, and you should do the same thing in any country you live in, whether it's Ireland, the UK, I don't care where it is. Don't just believe what you read or see, for God's sake. There you go, 12 to 18 hours, yeah. So Bosch, generally, Steve, you're not going to go wrong with Bosch. Good stuff. And the DeWalt bits and stuff that have been coming out, I just got a set to test. I'm very impressed with them. DeWalt is making a play, and they've always kind of been there, but they're kind of like the, I'm not going to say they're the bastard child. It just seems like DeWalt has, they're in this battle. They fight this thing where they're trying to show they're as good as Bosch or Milwaukee. And anyway, DeWalt, they make some really good stuff. Yeah, I'm sure of it. I'm sure you see a lot of American reviews, right? But like I said, start going to deep into their website and find out how many decades of experience they have, like Jimmy has and like I have. Yeah, there you go. Exactly, Jimmy. Exactly. So, Jimmy, what in your work? I'll ask you. What? Tell us what you feel. Answer Steve's question. Which power tool, drill driver, and bits are you having the best luck with yourself? I'm very curious. I know there's a 30-second delay, so while you're typing, I'm going to get a drink here. So chime in, Jimmy. Chime in. And Steve, what happens here in America? And I think this is by design. Here's what happened, because I started going to the press events. I used to get invited to all of these media events. So that this love affair with cordless tools started, I don't know. Well, it started a long time ago. I was still building. I remember the first cordless drill I ever saw, or drill driver, was a Makita, little 7.5 volt thing. My heating and air conditioning guy, he loved it. It was very small, compact. and he had a nut driver on it, and he would use it to drive the self-tapping screws, the small half-inch long. Jimmy, you know what they are? The little small half-inch long, quarter-inch self-trapping screws to put together, the round pipe. Well, it didn't take long. I mean, think about this. If you're an executive for the power tool manufacturers, if you decide to go cordless, you pretty much get the contractors to marry themselves to your brand, because all of a sudden you really become a battery company, not a tool company. And that's what's happened. I saw this coming 12, 15 years ago. I said it at one of the events, and the people at the event, I'm not going to say who they were, they kind of looked at me and they wanted me to shut up, because I was the oldest guy at the event, and a bunch of the young guys there were, they didn't have enough life experience yet to figure it out. I knew what was going on. They're getting into the battery business. And look how much a replacement battery makes. They probably have a 20x markup in those things. Are you kidding me? And here's what happens. If you decide that you're going to jump in and become a DeWalt person or a Bosch person, you don't want to be buying twice the amount of batteries for each platform. It's crazy. You're going to stick with one platform. So let's see what Jimmy says. DeWalt. Jimmy says DeWalt. Okay, you're a DeWalt guy. Okay, and you're having great success with them. I've been testing them DeWalt has really done a good job with their quality. I'm really happy with it. Let's see. Steve says Makita got a gold series of them, and they are quite expensive. Very interesting. Here's the funny thing about Makita. Years ago, the brand manager, the marketing manager, Makita, he must not have thought I was serious. What happened is he looked at Ask the Builder, and he did not realize. He looked at Ask the Builder and thought, well, you're just about consumers. Well, primarily I am. But so he would never send me one tool. They wouldn't send me a thing. So I've never, you can go onto my website, you cannot find a Makita review. Yes, 1/4 and 5/16 self-taps. Exactly. Thank you, Jimmy. Yeah, my friend Richard, he passed away about 14 months ago. I've got a memorial to Richard on my website. If you go to askthebuilder.com and type in Richard, I'll just do it for you. What the heck? I keep always telling you that, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. This is why I need that assistant, remember? So you need to read this. You need to read about Richard, if I can type it right. Richard Anderson. I'm telling you what. You need to read about Richard. He was my best friend in Cincinnati. Passed away. I'm sure he died of cancer, and I'm sure his cancer was caused by Agent Orange. He was a Vietnam vet. He volunteered twice. Do you understand what I'm saying? He enlisted and volunteered twice to go to Vietnam. Guy was a rip, and he never graduated from high school. He brilliant man, flipping brilliant guy. The stories I can tell you about Richard. Great guy. Here, one thing about Richard, I'll tell you this right now, and then I'm probably going to get out of here. Hour and a half. Cannot believe I've been on that long. I say this often. I probably don't say this often enough. It's just like I don't tell Kathy often enough that I love her. All right. I try to tell it to her every day, and she just kind of brushes it off. I don't tell you how much I appreciate you being here and how you really make me doing this live stream worthwhile. I've become friends with you, and I look forward to it. I look forward to doing these live streams. I just wish that we probably end up having to do more Zoom calls or something, maybe, because it's just always so one-sided from my perspective. Because I don't get to hear you, I don't get to see you, but I feel you in the chat, and I appreciate you. Anyway, crutch word. Oh my gosh, crutch words. I don't know what I was going to say now. I'm starting to wax sentimental. But I decided after last week that each live stream, I'm going to try to make it a little bit more structured and have have some topics to talk about. And, in case we run dry on questions, Will's laughing right now. Steve, thank you very much, man. I swear to God, I'm looking, this whole illness thing's almost over. They're going to, but here's what's going to happen. I'll just say this really quickly. When you read the pandemic book, you'll understand that there's been this massive, that's why it's called plandemic. It was planned. There's going to be, I'm going to go on record right now and tell you this, if you haven't already figured this out. Every 2 years, and they're only going to be able to pull this off for like 2 or 3 times. And then everybody's going to say, you and your flipping new illness can go to hell. But you need to understand that all these people way up here, in big pharma here in America, man, they've gotten into the vaccine business, all right? Because they don't have any liability. Zero liability. And because the bureaucrats and the research scientists can make money. So all of a sudden, there's going to be all these new, the caterpillar virus. I'm making it up. The earthworm virus. I don't know. Just you name it, man. I mean, whatever. That's what's in our future, because they're going to keep trying to get people jabbed. All right, because that's how they're making money. I've told you before, it's all the flipping Game of Thrones. It's all the Game of Thrones. And just read book 1 of Game of Thrones. It's just about money, power, and sex. That's it. I think it's really in this order: power, sex, money. All right. So just that's okay. Your crutch word. Oh, that's funny. Crutch word. I know. All right. I'm going to go. I'm going to get out of here. Hour and 32 minutes. Crazy. Thank you for being here today. I'll be here tomorrow. I'll be here tomorrow. I might be a little tired. We got a little pesky. Will and I are going to get dumped on again. A little pesky snow. I don't know. It was lightly snowing before I went. It's dark now. I can't tell what it's doing. We're going to get a little snow, and I'll be dealing with that tomorrow, late morning. Oh well. We've only got here. I'm only worried. I'm not even worried about it at this point anymore. I'm only slightly concerned about the snow for the next 3 weeks, because it's going to be March 1st. Are you kidding me? And once here in here in Central New Hampshire, once we hit March 1st, I don't care if it snows, and I don't care if I do a good job cleaning it up. I really don't care, because the sun is getting high enough in the sky, and when the temperature's starting to get up into the 40s in the daytime, that it just melts. But here, what I've learned in the 13 years I've been here, and will back me up on this, in December and January, you better be doing a really good job cleaning up, because what happens is, if you don't do it, it turns to ice, and then you're done. It's over. And you can tear up your snowblower, blah, 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 blah. So you have to do a really good job for 2 months, maybe 2.5 months. And then you can slack off a little bit. Steve, good night, buddy. Good night, Lorene. Good night, Will. Good night, Jimmy. Good night, Marcus. And if I forgot your name, if you way up in the stream, the chat stream, I apologize. Thanks once again for being here. You make the live stream happen. You really do. You make it really, really interesting for me. So thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. I will be here tomorrow. Like I said, we'll talk about a bunch of really good things, but remember, it's not that you necessarily heard it here first, but the illness is starting to fall apart. But here's what it means. I can already tell you this right now. Let's see. What is it? It's here in America, just so you know, it's 2022. We got a big election happening in November. So it's February. I predict that in April, there's going to be a new thing, this new huge scare thing. Like I said, earthworm, butterfly, unicorn. That's it. Flipping unicorn virus. Yeah, unicorn illness. You watch and see, because they're going to try to control you, man. But you read the pandemic, it's over. Game over. Yeah, me too, Steve. Oh, Jason, I didn't know you were here. I apologize, man. If you chatted before and I missed it, I apologize. Great to see you. Yeah, I'll bet you can't wait. You and me both, buddy. And Steve, when this illness thing is over, I swear to God, we got to figure out how to get together. Either you got to come over here to Florida, or I'm coming to the UK. It's really, I'm serious. But I'm not coming to the UK if I have to have a stupid card. It's not happening. I'm not happening. I mean, it's so unfair because I've got natural immunity that's better than this stupid fake crap. So they should give me a card that says, "Hey, Tim's okay, man. He's had it." All right. I'm going to say this last thing. And then I'm going to go seriously, because this is a long-term project to start thinking about. I helped start a very secret internet mastermind group. I won't talk about it on here. I'll talk about it with you privately. But we used to have what we called parachute drops. That was our code name, that we were going to do a parachute drop. So think about in the military what happens. Like on D-Day, when we help make sure that Steve wasn't talking German right now. There were a bunch of paratroopers that dropped over into France. So we should do a parachute drop. Takes a lot of planning, but all a parachute drop would be planning ahead, saying, I would put it up to the private group saying, okay, in 2 months, let's do a parachute drop at such and such a place, like a resort, very affordable one, on these days. And then everybody kind of parachute drops in. I mean, you just kind of show up, and for 2 or 3 days, we just hang out. It's very unstructured, but you get to meet everybody personally, hang around the pool, go play around the golf, whatever. But I see an Ask the Builder parachute drop in our future. I can tell you that right now. I'm going to do one, but I don't know. I don't know that it'll happen in summer. I don't know that enough of this illness stuff will be over with yet to make it happen. All right. Anyway, Kissimmee, Florida. Yeah. Steve will want to go there. He wants to go to Florida. A lot of people from the UK go to Florida, and it makes perfect sense why, especially in the wintertime. Woo! Great place to get away to. Well, Steve, if you've not been to Florida, if Jimmy lives there, if that's where Jimmy's from, he'll tell you that best time to go to Florida, at least this is my opinion, late March, all of April, or October, November. Great time to be in Florida. Oh my gosh, really great weather. Would you agree with that, Jimmy? That's really ideal weather in Florida. I mean, it can get a little chilly you have to be in South Florida down at Key West in January or February. And then in June, July, August, going to Orlando. Are you kidding me? I would be a flipping puddle of water on the ground. It's so hot and humid. Oh, horrible. Anyway, crutch word, not cuss word, crutch word. I'm out of here. Thanks so much for being here today. We'll have fun tomorrow. Yes, exactly. Jimmy knows. Thanks for being here. I'll be here tomorrow. I'm Tim Carter. I've been doing the Ask the Builder thing since 1993, and I did it today again here on the live stream. Had a great time. Oh, hopefully you're going to be seeing some really interesting King shoes coming up soon. I just got a press release about it today. Oh my gosh. Wait till you see these flipping shoes. And they're work shoes, but they're so good looking. So I'll tease that right away. But that's probably 2 weeks out. Oh, there you go. You got relatives in Jupiter. All right, there you go. Sounds like we're going to do a parachute drop in Florida. I'll do it. Even if it's in the hot weather, I'll come because they got air conditioning, and I'm just going to be in the flipping pool. All right. But I will be out on the golf links at dawn. I'm going to be golfing early in the day. All right. Okay. I'm out of here. Thanks for being here. I'll be here tomorrow. I'm Tim Carter. It's been Ask the Builder, and I'm not going to wear these hot coveralls tomorrow. Lorene, bye.